Hi, I'm Olivia, and this is Mila, and this is my recommendations channel. And today I'm recommending the second book in the Hawthorne, no, Inheritance Games series, The Hawthorne Legacy. Where we left off in the first book is that Avery is now that our protagonist, Avery Kylie Grahams, has inherited the lion's share of the estate of Tobias Hawthorne, a billionaire who made his money in oil. He made his money from, we'll find out later, a part that goes inside oil drills or derricks or something. Anyway, so I wrote my scripts out for 8 books, and we'll see how it goes. This is the second of those 8 books, and then I may start editing them. I have an editing computer now, if you missed that detail. And let's get started. So I start everything. I've been starting all these going like, wow. This literally starts out with, wow, a blank screen sure can be intimidated, particularly since I'm writing this on November 2nd, 2024. Traditionally, for the last 15 years or so, I've attempted to win at National Novel Writing Month, or NaNoWriMo. Winning is simply to write 50,000 words during the month of November. The closest I've gotten is 35,000. I'm totally not a commentary channel, and several of my favorites have already tackled what has happened with the official organization, from the allegations of grooming in the message boards to the official statement that novels written by AI are fair game. I'm counting new YouTube channel scripts as my NaNoWriMo attempt for the year. I kind of think it'd be ironic if the year I win would be if the year the organization falls apart. Spoiler alert, I did not win. Either way, I'm starting out 1,667 words behind, so that's probably not going to happen, and it didn't. I got to like 20,000, I think. It wasn't too bad. November 3rd, 2024. I've written 1,700 words on this, only 3,300 words behind now, and I keep thinking of things I forgot to say, and I'm not sure how to work this out. Maybe I'll remember to stick them in as I record. But now that the screen isn't blank, let's talk about a book. This time we're going into The Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. Last time we did the first book in the Inheritance Games series, called, aptly enough, The Inheritance Games. 16-year-old Avery Grahams has inherited multiple billion-dollar empire of Tobias Hawthorne. Avery was totally blindsided. Several members of the family, including grandson Grayson, believed that Avery did something sneaky to inherit. Avery inheriting the fortune turned out to be a game organized by Tobias with the goal of healing a familial wound caused when a young woman named Emily, granddaughter of Hawthorne family retainers, the Laughlins, played the boys against each other in a romantic game. The game ended when Jameson, Grayson's younger brother, told Emily he wasn't going to play anymore. Later that day, Emily died. That day that Emily died was Avery's 15th birthday. And if the book had ended there, that would have been an okay ending. Then we found out that Tobias had met Avery when she was a little girl. Avery's name, Avery Kylie Grahams, anagrams into a very risky gamble. Tobias found that amusing and kept an eye on the little girl as she grew, including finding a copy of her birth certificate. Just after Avery's mom died, Avery helped a homeless guy named Harry, setting up a several times weekly chess game where if Avery wins, she gets to buy breakfast for Harry. That reminds me of the YouTube song One. A lot of people sing the line as, we've got to carry each other, but the actual line is, we get to carry each other. That carrying each other is supporting each other, and being there for each other isn't an obligation, but is in fact an honor. I like that sentiment. Anyway, that's what's going on here, is that she gets the privilege of buying him breakfast if he loses the game. So, Harry, it turns out, was the long-lost son of Tobias Hawthorne II, known as Toby. Harry/Toby is better than Avery at chess, but not that much better. She had lots of occasions when she got to feed him. There's also a romantic subplot where Avery finds herself following in Emily's footsteps, being drawn to both Grayson and Jameson. Only Avery doesn't want to play games with the boys, and Grayson tells her flatly he will not compete with Jameson for her. Will Grayson stick to that resolve? Let's find out. So, let's talk about Toby's apparent death. I think we found out in the first book, but it wasn't germane yet, and all we really know is that Toby burned down a house that Tobias owned and killed three more young people in the process. The fire was set up with an accelerant, and the building actually exploded, so when Toby's body didn't turn up, they figured he was in the building, I guess. But he wasn't in the building. Where was he? And why did he try to burn down one of his father's houses? So Avery and Jameson are dedicated to finding out what happened to Toby and where he is now. Only they're stepping on Xander's toes in the process. You see, Tobias left a letter for Xander telling him to find Toby. We go into the drama of the Laughlin family in this book as well. More on that later, but for now, let's just say that Emily's sister Rebecca and Rebecca's sometime girlfriend Thea, who is also the niece of Toby's sister Zara. This book is very As the Hawthorne Estate Turns. And you don't know how sad it makes my old soap opera fan heart that someday there'll be a generation who doesn't know what that means, and that generation may already be here, are involved in unraveling this mystery. Now, the reason I mentioned the Laughlins here is that just about the first thing that Avery and the boys do is knock down the bricks blocking the door to Toby's wing of the house so they can look around for clues. And this truly upsets the Laughlins. How upset are they? Without Avery's consent, Mr. Laughlin, why do I not know their first names? Do they have first names? I just did some Googling, and it turns out their first names are Andrew and Lottie. Bricks the doorway up again. Meanwhile, Avery is getting threatening messages, so Orrin assigns her a bodyguard, Eli. Also, Avery's deadbeat dad, Ricky Grams, resurfaces. Ricky sounds really awful. I'm Ace. I actually say, if I wear my Ace ring, wave it at the camera. I just cannot imagine how this man can be anyone's father, much less such great one as Avery and Libby. I mean, would Ella women find this attractive at all? If you've read these books and you find Ricky Grams attractive at all, let me know, because this is freaky. So back to the plot. Avery, Jameson, and Xander find that Toby had been keeping a diary on the walls of his wing in invisible ink. During Toby's 16th year, there's an entry that just says, "They lied." Then Toby goes on to document that he was not Tobias and Alice's biological child. Alice went so far as to fake a pregnancy even, but Toby had found proof that they had, probably not even legally, adopted him. From that point on, Toby's whole attitude changed. His handwriting also changed from something childish to the handwriting that signed the father's space on Avery's birth certificate. So now Avery begins to work from the perspective that perhaps Tobias left everything to her because she's Toby's daughter, and to making her Tobias's granddaughter. At this point in my script, I pulled my book out to refresh my memory again, got totally wrapped up in the book again. Jeez. This is why when I'm writing these scripts, they take a little bit more time sometimes, because I'm like, okay, what happens here? I'm paging through the book, and then I'm like, ooh, I remember this part of the book. This was interesting. Okay, and then I have to go back, and I have to pull myself out and go back to write. Which is great. That's why I'm recommending these books, because I get like this. You're going to meet a book called The Lost Story. I read it once, loved it, read it again to make sure I loved it before I wrote the thing, and then ended up reading it a third time while I was writing the script. That's going to be 4 weeks from now. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. In another month or so. So, anyway. We find that Zara and Sky's inheritance were actually part of a game set up for Tobias's daughters, which would lead them to information on Toby's apparent death. Zara and Sky fail and or refuse to go through with the game, leading Avery and the boys to follow the clues. Additionally, Avery's mom had a stack of postcards from all over the world, and the two of them would leaf through them, dreaming of traveling to those places. It turns out those postcards were sent by Toby's travel around the world, and they, too, have secret messages on them. Sky Hawthorne takes up with Avery and Libby's dad, the ever-charming and delightful Ricky Grams. She even says that she's still young enough to give Avery and Libby a younger sibling. Like I said, if you've read this book and you find him attractive at all, let me know. I can't imagine. Of course, Avery's hopeful that Ricky's not her father and Toby is, so she's so hopeful that when Ricky causes the scene, she asks Elisa to do a paternity test to see if she really is Ricky's daughter. It takes a while to get an answer on this. Sky and Ricky get paid to do an interview, and Elisa and Grayson arrange for Avery and Grayson to do an interview with the same people that interviewed Sky and Ricky in exchange for them 86ing the Sky and Ricky interview. During the interview, the interviewer blindsides Avery and Grayson by asking about Toby. You see, someone had given the channel pictures of Avery and Toby. Elisa is furious with Avery and the boys because they never told her that Toby was still alive. Now, back in the first book, um, Avery asked Elisa to give money to Harry. She's like, there's a homeless guy named Harry who lives in the park. Please give him some money or something and give him a hand up. And of course, it turns out that Harry is Toby. I think this may be the spoiler berry for this video. So if you don't want to know how this all plays out, this is where you should leave. As always, if you know any books you think I would enjoy, please leave them in the comments. And just so you know, as I branch out into museums, parks, etc., the line will change to match. I don't know if there's, how am I going to have spoilers of a museum? Oh, if you know of any park, okay, I know where my brain was. It's months ago, but I got it. If you know of any parks or museums or anything like that that you'd like me to visit and talk about, let me know. So I'm in South Texas right now, and I don't have the money. I'm hoping this will help me raise money to go other places. But if there's anything in particular in San Antonio or Austin or even a little farther field, I'll go, like I said, Galveston or Corpus or something. I will be talking about how much I love the Texas State Aquarium. I love the Texas. A little pricey, but it's a fantastic day out. Anyway, but if you think of anything like that, also let me know. Feel free to like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you in the next one if you don't want to go any farther. So this is where we go into spoiler territory. There's lots of parental revelations in this one. This is why I said it was like as Hawthorne Man returns, because we find out why Skye named her sons Grayson and Nash those names. They were the last names of their fathers. Then there's a subplot about Avery thinking Toby and not Ricky is her father. There's also who's Toby's parents, since we know Toby was adopted. Who are Toby's parents? We find out that Toby wasn't Alice and Tobias' son. We find out that he was the son of Mallory Laughlin. Now, Mallory Laughlin's not something we see a lot of in this book so far, because she is the mentally ill daughter of the Laughlins. And the mother, right? Yes, the mother of Emily and Rebecca. I have to go back to my notes because this is so complicated. Which means that Toby is biologically Emily and Rebecca's older brother, but not legally, but biologically. So, if Avery's Toby's daughter, then Avery's the great-granddaughter of the Laughlins and the niece of Emily and Rebecca. See what I mean? My comment here. See what I mean? Very soap operatic. On one of his postcards, Toby apologizes for the death of Avery's mother's sister. Avery is the niece of Kaylee Rooney, the girl who died that day on Hawthorne Island. We find out exactly what happened on Hawthorne Island that day. Toby was furious with his father and wanted to destroy something that his father owned. He convinced several friends from rehab and a local girl, an arsonist from a criminal family, to help him burn down the house on Hawthorne Island. Toby bought accelerant, they put it into the house. Only before they could get clear and start the fire, the house was hit by lightning, causing it to explode in a fireball. The two boys and Kaylee were killed, and Toby was badly injured. He was rescued by a fisherman, and Kaylee's sister Hannah reluctantly nursed her to health. They fell in love. Toby's message sends Avery to see the fisherman, who gives her a letter, a handful of postcards from her mother to Toby, and a disc. Now, as an aside, I seem to recall a book where a similar disc is part of some kind of device or other, and every time I reread this book, I expect it to be that book. It isn't. Now I'm wondering what that book was. Anyway, on our way back, literally it says anyway, and I've also said, that's kind of cool. On our way back to the plane explodes, knocking Avery unconscious. Avery hears Grayson and Jameson arguing over her while she's unconscious. She awakens at Hawthorne House with Max's mom acting as her physician. Elisa had protected Avery's inheritance by removing her from the hospital, so she wasn't away from Hawthorne House for too long. Once she's feeling better, Avery is lured into a trap by Thea, who tells her that they have Rebecca, and she will do anything to protect Rebecca. They turn out to be Sheffield Grayson, Grayson's dad, and one of the maids, Mellie. Now, we meet Mellie in the book, and I forgot to mention her earlier. She's like Nash tends to collect people who need like financial assistance or whatever and helps them out with Hawthorne money. And Mellie's one of those people. Sheffield set up the explosion to lure Toby out of hiding so he can make Toby pay for the death of Colin, Sheffield's nephew, in the explosion. So Grayson's cousin Colin was one of the kids who died. He knows that Toby loves Avery because he believes that Avery is Toby's daughter. The result of Avery's paternity tests have come back. Because he believes that Avery is Toby's daughter. The results of Avery's paternity test have come back, and it turns out that Ruby Grams really is Avery's father. The book ends with the revelation that Mellie, the maid, and Eli, the bodyguard, was the one who sold Avery out to the interviewer, and they are the older siblings of Toby's actual daughter, Eve, who looks exactly like Emily, her aunt. Yes. So Toby is Emily's brother, so Eve is Emily's niece. Right, okay, we got it. Like I said, very... And finally, after being drawn together despite their misgivings, Avery finally chooses between Grayson and Jameson. She chooses Jameson. Much like the first book, you could end in a way that you could probably stop there. Avery's with Jameson, we know who Avery's dad is, and also who Grayson's and Nash's fathers are. The current mysteries are solved. But what will be the fun in that? We'll be reconvening soon for the third book in the Inheritance Games series, The Final Gambit, and I'm now at 2,047 words for the month. Needless to say, I did not make it to that. So we will leave with our traditional. If you have any recommendations, you know where to find, where to leave them. I've read a lot of books in my life. My Goodreads is like 500 books that I've read. And there's like 400 things in my to-be-read pile. Most in my to-be-read pile. My to-be-read pile. I need to put a picture of it. It's like, but my to-be-read section of Goodreads has another like almost 500 books in it. A lot of which are books that I read before and that I'm hopefully going to be rereading for this channel and for Goodreads eventually. Again, we're doing the Hawthorne Legacy by Jennifer Lynn Barnes. And this should launch in late March of 2025, and I will see you in the next one.